Please be seated. Frances Duncan officially retired from her third staff position at St. John's on December 31st, 2015. She was 86 years old. She went home to God on Wednesday, and today, on what was supposed to be her retirement celebration, we are giving thanks for her life and ministry to this church. Frances and I were both new hires at St. John's in 2001. I was in my first staff position here, and she was in her third. I was in my 20s and had 3 years of work experience in the church. She was in her 70s with 33 years of work experience at the church. Ironically, our job descriptions listed me as her supervisor. Thankfully, she took me under her wing and quickly became my mentor and friend, and I became her project. She would come to my office each morning and sit down for our daily chat. She gave me this red stretchy thing to keep my office keys on, just like hers, so I wouldn't lose them. She imparted some of her great wisdom to me, like when she made sure I was aware that the person in this position prior to me failed to write thank you notes for her church wedding shower gifts, or when she told me that my hair had gotten too blonde and gave me the number to her hairdresser. And yes, I still go to Frances's hairdresser to this day. She took me on trips to Hamrick's and Gaffney, to Sharon and Hickory Grove, and to the Walmart in Sherrill, because yes, it was nicer than the one in Rock Hill. She taught me how to make her famous bread, twice. She tried to teach me how to knit, but ended up just making me a scarf every year for Christmas. In addition to her delicious bread, one of the greatest gifts Frances has given to St. John's is our Celebrating Life Sunday, a day when we honor those who have been members here for 50 years or more. I remember when she told me this idea in my office, and then the next thing I knew, she was setting up the St. John's Center with the fancy silverware for a luncheon for 300 to honor those members. Frances worked under 10 different senior pastors at St. John's. She came here in 1953 as youth director. Before that, she earned a BA in history from Winthrop and a master's in Christian education from Emory University. She had worked as director of Christian education at a United Methodist Church in Alabama and even put off her wedding for her education and career. After taking time off to start a family, she became the church hostess at St. John's in 1963, a job she held for 23 years. While church hostess, Frances began working with the older adults of the church, helping with projects and planning many wonderful trips. She continued to do this after retiring from her second position in 1986. Just in the time that I knew her, she voluntarily served as president of the United Methodist Women, head of the Church Altar Guild, baked bread for anyone who visited St. John's and all church events with food, taught several bread-making classes, acted in 2 dinner theaters, sang in the chancel choir, created a different table decoration for every church event, helped Judy count the offering each Monday, and of course, served as our church historian in residence. You could ask Frances anything, and she would give you an answer. I am sure that I'm leaving things out, as I can only imagine the amount of unpaid service she gave to this church in her 62 years here. In addition to all I have already mentioned, she was a charter member of the Golden Bells and the Chancel Ringers. With very little musical background, she taught herself to read music and play handbells. She deeply loved this music ministry and would not miss handbell practice if she could, coming sometimes even when she did not feel well. So it is with great honor today that we announce we are naming the handbell room the Frances Duncan Handbell Room and dedicating it to her honor for appreciation for her inspiring service to God and the people of St. John's. This plaque will be displayed in the hall. The handbell room is right across from the sanctuary, and it says, "The handbell room is dedicated to Frances Duncan in appreciation for her many faithful and inspiring years of service to St. John's and her love of music." January 2016.